I'm Beck, I'm 27 years old, and I have survived hate for being my authentic self. When I was a kid, I know that I grew up with an older brother, and I always wanted to wear his clothes, and I wanted to hang out with him and his friends, and I just looked at girls in a different way. I didn't look at them in a way that I identified with them, more of like appreciating their beauty and being able to respect that, but not really feeling that with myself. I would say during my high school years, though, high school being as high school can be, I really did try to force myself to be very feminine and very pretty, because I felt like I had that. I mean, I know that I'm a physically attractive person, and so I just tapped into that, and I was big on being a people pleaser, and I thought that that was going to get me the most attention, because I wasn't getting that from my home, I wasn't getting that from partner, I wanted that attention. So I really dressed myself up to be as girly and pretty as I could. I had a thing with my hair, I loved my hair. And then I was probably about 18 when I was really questioning my sexuality. I was like, I just knew that it wasn't just men that I was attracted to, and my attraction to men kind of started to shift anyways. I was finding myself a lot more physically, sexually attracted to women. So I was 18 when I stopped dating guys and I started dating women exclusively. I had a lot of dreams about having male parts and feeling really good about that, but then feeling shame when I would wake up, because I realized that I had learned a negative, men don't treat women very well. So in society, they oftentimes will have a really negative, I don't know what's the word, connotation that is attached to them. You don't feel safe with men. Oftentimes women don't feel safe with a lot of men. And so I had that, I couldn't be a man because I don't like them. I couldn't think that way because I don't even respect them, kind of thing. So it was changing my relationship with myself and realizing that my relationship with myself has nothing to do with men, women, anybody else that was around me. And so that's when I really started to learn, I like having a flat chest. That makes me feel good for some reason. I like wearing men's clothing. That makes me feel good for some reason. I like having body hair. That makes me feel good for some reason. And then I was, 25 when I changed my name and my pronouns to using he, him instead of she, her. I have goals to, get top surgery and start taking testosterone and things. But there are just some other things that I want to take care of in my personal life with my relationship with myself before going on that journey. And I feel like a big part of that is because I know a lot of trans men who, they seek a medical transition so quickly because of ego. They really need to pass. They really need for people to see them in the way that they see themselves. But I'm learning how liberating it is just to see myself and not care what other people think, because it doesn't matter what anybody else sees. They're going to see what they want to see anyways. Even if you look like a man, as soon as some people find out that you weren't born that way, immediately it doesn't matter, right? So if it doesn't matter, then it's never going to matter. I may as well just do this for me. And that's one thing that I think I notice in the trans community a lot is people don't do it for them. They do it for other people's approval. And then that's unfortunately where we find people who detransition, people who have started a medical transition but then decide to stop and then regress their transition, I guess. My goal with my journey is fully understanding myself before really letting other people in on that. It's definitely what I've learned. My relationship with my parents now is better than it's ever been, actually. I have had a rocky relationship with my father because his religious background and, he had some anger problems when I was young. He has thankfully, sort of overcome that, and we've been able to kind of set aside our differences and just respect each other for just being humans. My mom is probably the most supportive person in my whole life, and that's taken a lot of work on her part, I would say. She's always been very open about, from a very young age, I have memories of being a child and her telling us, my brother and I, if you're gay, I don't care, I love you, just love whoever you want, so I know a lot of people can't say that they've had parents that were very upfront about, I'm going to accept you for whatever you kind of come as. When I came out as gay, my mom was like, yeah, I knew that. And so that was funny. She actually had told me that she had a conversation with her sister when I was a kid, so I think she might be gay, a lesbian. Are we okay with this? And of course, they were like, yeah, we love her no matter what kind of thing. Coming out as trans was a different experience because we had had conversations about it before, like about other people. I had dated somebody who was trans, and so they had been exposed to it at least, you know. And I remember having a conversation with them even saying like, oh, I don't think I'm trans, but I was still very deep in my mask of pleasing other people and wanting to appear as a certain way to others. I started transitioning when I lived in a different city from my parents, from my family. So I really got to kind of test it out on my social circle and then kind of come back and say, yeah, this is definitely how I'm feeling. So this is what it is, Mom. I really can't remember how exactly she responded, but I think it was probably along the lines of, okay, that's fine, but it's going to take me some time to adjust, of course, because she was calling me one name, using one set of pronouns for me for 25 years, and she birthed me, of course. It's going to take some time for her to wrap her head around this. And then for my dad, the way I came out to him was kind of coming out to his whole side of the family, like aunts, uncles, and grandparents even. There was a family situation that happened that brought us all together, and the timing was just right, so I just decided to just lay it out on the table for everybody in the family, like this is what it is kind of thing. I haven't really heard anything from my dad, but he does call me by my chosen name now, and the pronouns are a little more difficult for him, I think. But I mean, you know, he's at least respecting that enough that, you know, he can call me Beck instead of my birth name, which is great. I'm grateful for that. I know a lot of people, a lot of trans people can't say that about their family, that they're at least trying. So how I understand it, gay is just saying I'm attracted to the opposite sex, whatever that means for you, whatever that means for the other people. Queer for me means that I'm very open in that I don't see gender as a barrier for love kind of thing. So for me, queer is just, you know, anybody can get it if you have the right energy, you know, like it doesn't matter what you have in your pants, doesn't matter how you present yourself. And then trans would be that you don't identify with the gender you were assigned at birth. So that could be somebody who either identifies as the opposite gender or they identify as maybe non-binary, which is people who identify with both or neither genders. And they would usually use they, them pronouns. And so just for me, transgender means I was assigned female at birth. That doesn't resonate with my soul, with my form of expression. And so now I identify as male. Honestly, my journey has been funny and awkward the whole way. It is very awkward to explain to people. I know that I look pretty, but I am a male, you know, like I know that it appears this way, but it's actually this. People don't like their reality to be questioned, you know, and some people take that very personally as an attack for them. And so that just makes things very awkward. I think it's important for people to understand, particularly about trans people, is that it doesn't harm you or anybody that people are living to their authentic views. To me, it's another way of having a dream come true, right? Some people dream to be a superstar. Some people want to be a pilot. And some people, it's a form of gender expression or something just as personal as the way that you see me, right? And either just clothing, like, but it just goes way deeper than gender, to me at least. It's about just feeling authentically myself. And I think that the people that don't understand trans people, they just don't understand aspects of themselves, or they're denying aspects of themselves that are, you know, that could be rooted in love. Trans people are just living their authentic selves, and it's no attack for anybody else. It's not trying to make anybody else question truth. What do I want people to understand about trans people? Just let us be. Just let us be. We deserve peace just like everybody else. We deserve to express ourselves authentically just like everybody else. We deserve the same rights as everybody else. It's way bigger than just trans people, you know, people of color, people with disabilities or lacking certain abilities. We all deserve to just be accommodated in whatever way, you know, needs to be, because I want to do that for everybody just as much as I expect that to be done for me. I feel like my style has kind of changed a little bit since beginning my transition, although coming out as lesbian, kind of getting into the queer community in that way, I was already kind of dressing more masculine. I had cut my hair once before, ended up growing it back out, cut it off again. My style, my personal style hasn't changed. I think all of the things that I'm wearing I had before even transitioning right now, all the clothes that I'm wearing right now. But my relationship with my form of expression through clothing and style is definitely shifting right now, I would say. So, I don't know, maybe ask me another time. I feel really affirmed when, you know, I get to flatten my chest, or when, I mean, honestly, when people just see me, when I'm talking to people and they don't even know me and they're automatically using like a they pronoun, like, because they just already know this person is something else, right? Like there's something different about that. That is very affirming for me, because, you know, that just tells me, well, you get it. You get that there's something different here. I don't even have to tell you. So yeah, that's probably my favorite thing. I've had people, you know, related to me even send hate my way, or just say some really nasty things about me, you know, misplaced, of course. That was a moment for me to check back in with myself and remind myself that that has nothing to do with me. I'm on this journey for myself. I've had some people in my life who think that either because I'm trans or parts of my transition mean that I'm mentally ill, mean that there's something wrong with me. And I mean, you know, consider the source, of course. These people are not happy with their lives. So of course they're going to try to point fingers at other people to try to make themselves feel bigger in whatever way. It's an ego thing. There's a lot of people that think that being transgender means that you're mentally ill, but I'm not mentally ill. I feel happier than ever. It still bugs me when people use the wrong pronouns, or another way to say that, gender me incorrectly. And it just kind of bothers me in a way of just like an annoyance, but I've definitely gotten to the point where I remember that the way that other people see me has nothing to do with me. So whenever people misgender me, honestly, I don't even correct them all the time. I will correct them oftentimes if I feel that this relationship will continue, but if it's like a stranger or somebody that I don't think I'm going to see again, I'm like, you know, it doesn't matter to me what you see. But yeah, normally I'll correct people. I actually do kind of have a funny story. It was when I still identified as a lesbian, and I dated a girl who shared my same birth name. So the name I was going by at the time, she had the same name as me, and I just didn't like that. Something about that didn't feel right when we were hanging out with people, like, hey, you know, like it was confusing. And so I actually started to go by Beck at that time, because Beck is a derivative of my middle name. And so that was, I don't know, I feel like almost kind of dipping my toe into the world of like, maybe something's different here, because I remember how much it felt euphoric to be called Beck instead of my birth name. But my girlfriend at the time she didn't care for it, and I don't really know why she didn't like that. I gotta reconnect with her and get some information. Being a part of the trans community, it means going against the status quo. It's so easy to fall into wanting to be like everybody else, wanting to appear normal, wanting to, you know, feel like, you know, there's just nothing uncomfortable about you. But being transgender, there's so many uncomfortable things about that for me and for the other person, you know, for society who has an issue with people expressing themselves authentically. I feel like people just won't get being transgender unless they are. Period. Point blank, that's just what it comes down to. People will just not be able to wrap their head around it, because that's simply not what they experience, right? Understandably so. But that's where empathy and compassion comes in, and recognizing that nobody's going to deliberately do something that is so out of box, you know, so uncomfortable, like really, like, you know, just the things that we have to do to our body to feel comfortable, the things that we have to do in our families and to do every day to just strangers, it's all uncomfortable. And so anybody who refuses to understand transness, it's because they're also feeling that discomfort, I feel like, but they're not able to see that it's not to make other people comfortable, it's to actually find comfort in that. I feel like being transgender is something that you just won't understand unless you just experience it. But the way that I can explain it, I feel that helped me understand it early on was, imagine having the same thought patterns, the same thoughts, the same way of experiencing the world, but being in a completely different body. That's all I can say, because that's how it feels. I feel it's not that I don't feel like this body is for me, because I honestly feel that I was meant to learn the lessons that came with this body. And I feel like there's probably a lot of trans people that can agree with that. But the way that my body looks, I definitely, when I looked at my body and then I look at the body of cis men, I definitely am like, that definitely looks more accurate to the way that I feel, to the way that it's just an energy. I don't know how to explain it. It's so difficult to explain, but yeah, it's really just the way that I think feels in alignment with what I've experienced from men. That's just what and I grew up with a brother, you know what I mean? And so I grew up very closely with a male energy, and, you know, and that resonated a lot more with me. And I think that that's why I clung to him a lot too, because I didn't feel right once I started developing, especially. Then I was like, what are these things on my chest? Like, you know, for me, my journey really had to start with me finding the truth in myself before I started expressing it to others, before I started sharing it with my family, before I even started sharing it with friends. It really was a journey that I had alone. I didn't share as many details with everybody that was around me. I really was just kind of like, okay, and so you're thinking this way, and so that kind of means this, you know, and like just piecing it all together on my own. And so now that I have the picture in my own head, like nobody else's paint can really impact that, because I'm like, oh no, I know that doesn't go there, because it's a whole picture. I'm looking forward to having top surgery, which means removing the fat off my chest. That will happen eventually, and I would look forward to also taking testosterone at some point as well. The advice I would give to somebody who is trying to understand their own gender identity would be just to listen to yourself. Somehow you have to figure out how to block out the noise. Somehow you have to figure out how to ignore what other people are saying, the thoughts, and identify the thoughts in your mind that you know come from you. Because that was something that was big in my journey through mental health and my transition was, what are the thoughts that I learned? What are the thoughts that I heard from other people? And what are the thoughts that I actually want to attach to? And that made all the difference for me. That's when I started to really understand, okay, so this is why things feel different for me, because it is entirely different than what other people have taught me all my life. Don't listen to what other people say. You'll know what resonates when you hear it. You'll know what resonates when you think it. And so just hold on to that. And you'll have other thoughts that keep coming that try to tell you other things, but you'll know what feels right. It's all a feeling, and that's, yeah. I used to have a really bad relationship with my feelings, with my emotions, but through this process I've learned my feelings are telling me something, and I just have to listen to them to really be able to understand them. So just listen to your feelings and learn what they're trying to tell you. They are trying to tell you something.